You were selected to be a part of the premier group of Mariachi Spectacular All-Stars because you are considered a torch carrier of the mariachi flame. What does that mean to you?
Well, for me, it's very special because I grew up coming to this conference from when I can remember. Even before I started taking the classes, my parents, we'd go watch the Mariachi Spectacular concert and stuff like that. And that's what kind of planted the seed for me to start doing mariachi. And now that I've been able to grow as a student and also come back as a teacher and participate and perform, it means a lot to me because I really want mariachi to live on for forever.
Tell us about your first experience with mariachi music. Was it part of your family, something you discovered on your own? Did you learn in school? Can you share?
My first experience with mariachi music, it's funny, I'd like to tell this story because it began before I was born. So my mom, she sang mariachi music. She still sings mariachi music. And so my mom was still doing performances with mariachis and stuff when she was pregnant with me. So my mom says, you were up on stage with me like a lot before you were even born. So I feel like I came out already like loving music and, so I was always around it. I grew up around mariachi and different kinds of music. I was influenced by all sorts of different genres. And so I always heard it, and then when I got into 7th grade is when I really started to pursue mariachi because I played drums growing up and I was into different music. And then my mom told me, my parents, they're like, oh, you should join the mariachi class. And I'm like, I want to play the drums. But you should do it. It'll be cool. Okay. So I told the teacher, well, give me whatever instrument's closest to the drums. They gave me the vihuela. And then once I started on that, I was hooked. It was just something special that I got connected to the mariachi like that with a vihuela. And from there, I started coming to conferences, and now I'm at where I'm at today.
Was it at this time that you became passionate about the music, or did it come a little later on?
Yeah, so as I told you earlier, when I was growing up, I had always been around it, and I liked it, I enjoyed it. But not until I got that vihuela in my hands and started really playing and learning the music is when I really just fell in love with it.
How important do you think music exposure is to young children, and why?
It's super important for children. I feel like when a child is developing, music is probably one of the primary things that their brain is absorbing. I know for me personally, I know music that I heard as a child, even when I was like 3 or 4 years old, I still recall it in my mind clearly. And it's good to sing to kids. Kids love to hear music and stuff, so it's very important in a child's development. And it's good for the soul more than anything. That's what it's all about.
Have you personally witnessed any positive changes in any students you've taught?
In my teaching experience, I've been teaching about 5 years, and I noticed that mariachi music, or music in general, gives students something to look forward to, especially in school. Because I know some kids, they're not really into going to school. They're like, I gotta go to math class, I go to science. And there's some students who really love music, so that gives them an extra motivation to go to school and do well, because many music programs too, it's like if you want to participate in music, your grades need to be up. So I've had students who have maybe been struggling in school a little bit, trying to find themselves in school, and then they get into music and all of a sudden they're hooked. All of a sudden their grades start going up because they want to participate. They're like, okay, this is cool. And then they start excelling in everything. So I think it's really cool to see that in students.
Who do you consider to have the most influence in your musical career? Now, is that the same person that continues to inspire you today?
Okay, so this question has multiple people in it, right? So starting with my mom and dad, James and Angel Espinoza, I gotta shout out to them because I probably wouldn't be here without them. So it started with them growing up. My first elementary music teacher, Mr. Robert Felix, and then after that, Mr. Alfonso Trujillo, who really opened up all the resources for me to be able to learn mariachi. He took us to mariachi conferences and all that. So I was able to be exposed to great musicians. And then once I started meeting mariachi maestros in the conferences, two people who really influenced me big time were Jesus Hernandez, guitar player from Sol de Mexico, and his brother Jose. Once I met them, I was like always asking them questions and stuff, and they always answered my questions, and they were real cool, and like they're really great friends to this day. So they influenced me a lot. My padrino, he's Juan Gabriel, and not a lot of people know that, but I grew up around him in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and knowing him was like incredible. I learned so much from him in regard to mariachi and music and all that stuff. I don't want to leave anybody out. But yeah, those are the main people. And then the older maestros, Rigoberto Alfaro, Don Jesus Rodriguez Hijar, who taught at this conference too, Don Miguel Martinez, those guys are like icons. So all those people had a big role in who I am today as a musician.
As a role model for younger generations, how do you hope to inspire this generation in the way musicians who are such a major part of the Mariachi Spectacular of Albuquerque may have inspired you?
I just want to be a good example, and show that you can't be afraid to pursue your dreams. If you really love mariachi and you want to do it, just go for it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Can you tell us, how did you select your instrument?
I selected it because it was the closest thing to the drums, and I grew up playing drums, so I was always very rhythmic, so that's how I got into the vihuela.
Where do you see yourself as it relates to mariachi in 20 years?
In 20 years, well, I hope that I can be seen as an innovator and someone who also continues to carry on the essence of mariachi. Those two things I think are very important, and like my idols that I looked up to, like Don Jesus Rodriguez, Rigoberto Alfaro, Jose Hernandez, coming down that lineage, they were all very innovative, and Don Jesus and those guys were throwing electric guitar and synthesizers into old mariachi recordings from like the 60s. And so I think we need to keep moving forward and evolutionizing mariachi, but also be able to play a ranchera, sones, that kind of thing, as authentic as possible, keeping that essence. So I want to be able to hopefully do those two things.
What piece of advice would you share with young people who want to start a career in mariachi?
Don't be afraid. Go for it. Don't be afraid to ask questions to other people who know more than you. Sometimes something you can ask someone in 10 minutes, it may have taken them 10 years to learn. So don't be afraid to ask questions and study your instrument, and most of all, love it. Have a passion for it and share it with everybody.
How has mariachi impacted your life?
It's basically taken over my life. All I do is mariachi. People ask me, well, what do you do? Well, I teach mariachi, I perform mariachi, I record mariachi. My life revolves around it, my family, of course, and my friends and all that. But mariachi has, I think, taken me in a good direction. It's given me something to live for, something that I'm passionate about and that I'm excited to wake up every day and do. Hi, my name is Santiago Espinoza, and I'm part of the 2021 Mariachi All-Stars, and I'm happy to be here teaching the vihuela portion of the clinics this year.